Ready? This is going to be a wild one. It's story time. You know, I spend a lot of the time on this channel critiquing films and books that miss the mark for one reason or another. When I do critique, it's for the purpose of finding out what we can learn to make ourselves better storytellers. So, what about me? Well, boys and girls, do I have a story to tell you? I wrote a book so bad that publishing it would most likely have hurt my writing career as an indie author. But there are valuable lessons to learn from that. Before we get into that, I'd love to get a like and subscribe. You know, just maybe one subscribe that could keep me going for a while. One more sub, yeah, that'll set me straight. You know, I promised myself every week I won't make these intros awkward and weird. Oh, the lies we tell ourselves. So, to get started, I'm just going to put this meme up here. If you've been on the internet for a while, you've probably seen this meme at least once. It's a page from a book that doesn't exist. An absolute nightmare of romance storytelling. I can't repeat a lot of what it says, but it is an absurd and graphic section about two lovers, one without much experience. The thing is, that lack of experience leads to the narration using this kind of faux innocence to use ridiculous language to describe what would normally be a fairly graphic bit of lovemaking. This meme was often captioned with something to the effect of I'd pay to read an entire book of this. My dear friends, I laughed so hard reading this passage that I too felt the same. But, like many of you out there, I subscribe to the mantra of being the change you want to see in the world. So I said, what the hey, I'll write that book. Surely if people are spreading the meme, then I would be in a way capitalizing on something that is very, very hyped right now, right? Surely I'll sell a ton of books and maybe even go viral because of how silly and funny this is, right? Oh dear, I can't tell you how wrong I was about so many things. Let me first introduce you to the concept. I'd never written a romance before, but I'd read a few, I've seen plenty of movies, I understood the formula. The meme was playing into the concept of an innocent young woman brought to the naughty world of this romance and her lack of ability to put the correct dirty words to everything and substituting her own just made it more ridiculous. So I reached back for inspiration to one of the most popular and timeless romance movies I could think of that also had a coming-of-age element to it, Dirty Dancing. With that as my backbone, I wrote out some characters, the arc of the story, chapter breakdowns, and the general absurdity I was going for. Sounds good so far, right? Well, remember, this is going to turn into a car crash in a minute. I didn't think this book nor Dirty Dancing could really sustain a full novel treatment, so I went for a novella. I put my head down and smashed keys for a while and had a full manuscript finished in pretty good time. After all, I was trying to strike while the iron was hot and the meme was still circulating. Well, it went off to my editor, who's an avid fan of romance, and the response was not what I expected, to say the least. The first critique was, is this intended for romance readers? They're gonna get offended. I was confused. I love horror movies, but I still love the Scary Movie series. I love military action movies, but I still enjoyed Hot Shots. I loved police dramas, but movies like The Naked Gun and Dragnet were some of my all-time favorite comedies. Who doesn't love a parody? Well, romance readers. There's the spoiler for you. If it's a romantic comedy, it has to be silly and goofy and charming, but at the end of the day, still give warm, fuzzy feelings all over, or else it really isn't a romance, right? So this was a huge lesson for me about understanding your audience. The established audience of any given genre has a fundamental core that all fans of the genre want to see, and I mean in almost every single book. Does that sound myopic to you? Well, maybe, but the internet has surely exacerbated that effect. It doesn't change the fact, though, that it's always been this way. I worked at a bookstore in the 90s, and I can tell you that long before the internet was really a thing, you could tell the romance readers from the science fiction folks and the fantasy crowd from the classics lovers. Even in nonfiction, you had the history readers, the biography lovers, and the political readers that were always after the newest stuff from respected pundits and journalists. And then there was this self-help crowd. I can promise you, these were all very different people to have a conversation with. Even then, some 30 years ago, romance readers were notoriously voracious, consuming 2 to 3 books a week and flipping their red pile into the nearest used shop for store credit to buy some more. I say that to explain that random people on the internet don't represent an audience block. Your chosen genre's core audience has certain expectations. Stepping outside those expectations doesn't make you a genius. It makes you practice the fine art of self-sabotage. Let me hit you with the broad strokes of the plot to show you what I mean. First, let's get the title out of the way. It's Horses on the Wind. The book is called Horses on the Wind. I went with this ridiculous romance-adjacent kind of title that still flexed a bit of a wink and a nod to how absurd it was going to be. It sounds like a terrible soap opera that takes place on a farm or something. Our main character is Regina, an 18-year-old girl in rural Pennsylvania in 1988. She lives with her father on his ranch and meets one of his new migrant farmhands. Bo is a horse whisperer and an incredible talent at that. He's ashamed of his lazy eye, so he keeps it hidden with a big cowboy hat. Now, get ready, here's where we go off the rails. Regina gets curious about Bo and his crew of migrant farmhands and finds that after hours, they're doing pony shows. For those of you who are uninitiated, I am so sorry for ruining your innocence in this explanation, but that's where people dress up like ponies and their riders treat them like horses for the purposes of this weird niche fetish. I don't know what to say. Some horse girls dream of riding into the sunset, and some of them wish they were the horse. Didn't make up this kink, I can't tell you. Well, as you can imagine, Regina becomes curious about Bo's lifestyle and these pony show contests he does at clubs at night. When his partner gets injured, Regina takes her place, and through these pony shows, she falls in love with Bo. Her father forbids it and fires Bo when he finds out, but Regina is not a horse that will be tamed. Look, it's about as bad as it sounds, okay? My goal with this novel was to let the devil on my shoulder take the wheel and turn off whatever excuse for a filter I had. If you've already read any of my books before, you know I'm normally very story-focused and dialogue-centric. Here, I was completely focused on absurdity and drove the story by primarily narration. What I ended up with was just short of a 30,000-word nightmare. Seriously, I can't read my own story to this day without laughing out of shock or embarrassment at my own words. So, how did things go when it went past my editor? Would it surprise you that I believed in this little project so much that I got together an entire beta reading team? That's right, an entire team of predominantly romance readers got to sit down and read a parody of their favorite genre. Can you guess that the reaction was bad? I'm sure you did, but how bad? Well, out of the entire team, very few of them actually finished the book. Those that did rated it about a 2 or 3 out of 5 stars. Almost every single one of them said that they found the book offensive to romance fans. If you've followed me on this channel, you know I'm super big on criticism, and I don't ever consider myself an exception. So I didn't take it personally, I wanted to learn from it. Some of the comments that came up frequently were to the effect of, I'm not sure who this book is for, not my cup of tea, and my favorite, WTF did I just read? Now, keep in mind, I wanted the narration to be so unhinged that it evoked that exact response, but I wanted it more of the car crash, appalled, can't look away until it's over reaction. Not a groan and closing the book without finishing it. Despite the negativity, there was some constructive criticism, which truthfully I also found alarming. One beta reader actually went into great detail about how the pony play in the book was a metaphor for how men put saddles on women and objectify them. She wanted me to explore that deeper. She pointed to specific parts in the book where she felt like I was making bold critiques about the nature of modern relationships. That's an important lesson too. Your audience has lunatics among them. Some people will read your work and then read deeper, and then they'll read so deep into it that they're not even realizing the points and metaphors they found are just their own biases and beliefs staring back at them. Now, while you have absolutely no control over what someone else perceives in your work, clarity is very much under your control. Make certain that you understand what you're trying to say, rather than having someone fill it in for you. You know, I've always despised when artists of all stripes use that tired line that the meaning of their work is left up to the audience's imagination. It's such a lazy cop-out that just sounds like something an artsy-fartsy type would say. You know what I mean? Like, you can't go to your boss with the sales numbers and open up an Excel sheet full of random numbers you typed in and just tell him that the sales figures were up to his interpretation. I try to be as precise as possible. I wrote The Wicked Instruments while I was trying to learn the craft of writing and publishing. It's a charming story, and the comedy and insanity actually decreases each book of the series as it starts to take itself slightly more seriously. which is a reflection of how I was taking myself more seriously. I know the exact headspace that I was in and why I stopped working on the Wicked instruments. I know that I wrote In Shadows when I was dealing with the grief of losing my father, and that was my headspace then. I'm fully aware of what I wrote, why I wrote it, and what it meant to me. Now, a perfect stranger can read that and take something different from it, sure, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's at a different place in life and sees the words through their own lens. But in this book, Horses on the Wind, it had lines like, "The costume brings the fantasy to life, but I feel the spirit of the horse within you. You always look like a horse to me." I don't really expect anybody to take a novella of this caliber seriously, like not even a little bit. And that brings us full circle to the final lesson I learned from all this. After offending a good portion of the romance beta team with Horses on the Wind, I decided to shelve it forever. The fact of the matter is that all those people on the internet sharing that meme said they wanted that book. But those people aren't romance readers. People who aren't romance readers would likely not give Horses on the Wind a try because they're never in the romance aisle of the bookstore. Those people want to laugh and they go to the comedy section. The vast majority of the comedy subgenre on Amazon is heavy with famous stand-up comedians, not silly parodies. Truthfully speaking, if I dropped all of the absurdity and took the story seriously as a wandering farmhand and a girl coming of age through pony play, I probably could have sold quite a few books. But that's just not me, and certainly not something I want to be known for. So, in the interest of not derailing my writing career, Horses on the Wind will likely never see the light of day. Maybe that's a good thing, though. People sometimes think they know what they want when they get the smallest taste of it, like a cookie. The reality is, if you're downing an entire tray of cookies for dinner, you're probably not doing very well. And that's Horses on the Wind, an entire tray of filthy, filthy cookies that you have to eat in one sitting. To be fair, I don't regret writing that book. I mean, it makes me laugh in the jaw-dropping I can't believe he said that kind of way, and I'm truly grateful for the lessons I learned. So hey, big news. I have a new website. dcferguson.com is a one-stop shop for everything me. It has my latest YouTube videos, profiles of all of my books and series. You can sign up for my newsletter, and there are ways to contact me directly. Pretty soon I'm even going to have merch in the store. Anything you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments and we'll see if we can make that happen. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to hear about new videos, and as always, have fun and get crafting.